Oh, naingia tu natoka. Good morning. Morning. Are you getting me?
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen people joining and leaving, joining and leaving. Let's give them 5 minutes to join. We are only 15. We are only 15. So we are giving them 5 minutes at least to join. Then we start off. Kindly don't leave. Just be patient. Meanwhile, you are supposed to register. The moment you join, you register your attendance. Make sure you register your name and registration number at the attendance list, at the chat place, at the chat point. Make sure at least you register your name and registration number.
Class kweli iko ama hakuna class?
I think it's 10 minutes past time. We can start off as we wait for others as others continue joining the class. So you're only 22. So minus 2, you're only 20. I don't know what others are doing because they're joining at a very, very slow rate. So I wish to advise that you tell your colleagues to join. The class is on. The class is on. So tell those ones who are doubting to join the class kindly. So meanwhile, this is a class of PSY 311. Can you mute please, so that we move together? So I want to make some few announcements before we start off with the class, because I've not met this group. So this is PSY 311. That is Human Growth and Development. Human Growth and Development is a psychology course that is going to be taught to all third year teacher trainees, those ones who are training to be teachers. Can you mute your mic, please? So it's a course that is going to be taught to all third years. And I was saying that this is a common course that is compulsory to all the third year teacher trainees. So I expect that all of us make sure that we attend and also interact with the content that has been uploaded in the e-learning system. So therefore, I'm encouraging that all of us to enroll into the course of PSY 311. Make sure you enroll into the course of PSY 311 in the e-learning system, because the course content has been uploaded there. We are going to do a lot of activities on that platform. There are various activities that we are going to engage in that particular platform. So make sure and encourage your colleagues also to enroll. So the enrollment key for the course is PSY 311 SEP 2024. And you have to type them in capital letters. It should be in caps. PSY 311 as one word. PSY 311 SEP 2024. So that is our enrollment key for PSY 311 for all the groups. So let all the groups enroll into that particular, using that particular key, so that you are able to interact with the content that has been uploaded. On that platform, you'll find notes, you'll find links, and the links that have been provided on that platform are meant to support the information that has been uploaded. Like, for example, I've uploaded notes, then on that same topic, I put a link. Now, that link means you have to click on the link so that you read the information that is in that particular link, which is meant to support the information that I've given you in the notes, or any other information that you have tried to look for. So make sure you click on those links and get the notes. On the same platform, we are going to do our assignments. We are also going to do our CATs, continuous assessment tests, through online. Therefore, it's a very, very important, it's very, very important that all of us enroll. Otherwise, if you don't enroll, you might miss out some information, and especially when it comes to exams, the cards, quizzes, and so on. So I want to encourage you to enroll. Then number two, I also wish to say that the moment you join the class, kindly you mute your mic so that you don't interfere with the class. In case there's a question, you want to ask a question, we shall give you time to ask. So that's the time you'll unmute, then post your, ask your question, then you'll be answered. So people are joining and leaving, I don't know why. Then number 3, I want all of us to register the attendance, register at the chat place. So let me share what I want us to discuss today. Then I want one response to show, confirm whether you are seeing what I'm sharing or not. One person, please. Chris, are you in?
Yes, madam.
We are seeing it clearly.
Are you able to see what I'm sharing? There's something I'm
Yes.
sharing
Yeah.
on the screen.
Yes, we are seeing it.
Okay, thank you. So this is the course outline for PSY 311. And the course title, as I've already mentioned, is Human Growth and Development. I'm just going to take you through very fast. Then we look at topic 1, guide you through, because already you have the notes in the learning management system. So this is a course, as I've already said, that is offered to all the third years. It's a professional course. Professional course means it's not a subject content course. It's a professional course because it prepares you or equips you with the skills of being an effective teacher. So it only helps you to be able to deliver the content that you have in your subject area in a more effective manner. That's why we say it's a professional course. It prepares you to be a teacher and helps you to know how to handle the learners that you are going to interact with in your teaching profession. So this is a course that is going to deal with human growth and development, how human beings develop. We are going to look at different principles of human growth and development. As a teacher, you need to understand these principles and how these principles will guide you prepare well to handle the learners that you are going to teach in your class. We are also going to look at the educational implications of human growth and development. Why should a teacher have knowledge on human growth and development? Why should you understand how human beings grow? What is the purpose for a teacher to have this knowledge? And how will it help the teacher to effectively perform his duty? That's what we mean by the educational implications. Then we are going to look at the different aspects of human growth and development. So these aspects are physical, social, emotional. We have moral. We have language development, and so on. So we are also going to, there's something you've already done on cognitive development. You've done something on personality development. These are some of the aspects that are very, very important when you are handling human beings when it comes to their growth and development. So our overall objective for the course, Anne, kindly can you mute your mic, please? You are interfering with our class. Kindly. Anna Mkambe, mute your mic. So I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry for that. My mic was muted. I hope you are now getting me. So I was trying to take you through the course outline. I was trying to take you through the course outline that we are going to cover in this particular course. So kindly let us, with the moment you join the class, you mute your mic. Some have joined in the class and are elsewhere teaching and are interfering with our class. So kindly make sure that you mute your mic. If you don't mute, then I'll just remove you in my class. So let me share the course outline once more. Anne, kindly, can you mute your mic, please?
Okay, madam.
Yeah, yeah. So we have, so I think we can now continue. So I was trying to take you through the course outline, which is going to guide us throughout this particular course. So let me just look at the content. There's something we missed out. So I've said the content has been divided into various topics. We have topic one, which deals with the introduction to human growth and development, which will cover the general information, the definition of terms, characteristics of human growth and development. We shall also look at the factors influencing growth and development, the principles and educational implications of human growth and development. Then the second topic, we look at the aspects, and we have said that all the aspects have been subdivided into different subtopics. So the first one we shall look at will be physical development. Then we shall also look at social development, which deals with the social aspects. We shall look at the different stages of social development, the characteristics or the factors influencing social development and its implication to the teaching learning process. Then we shall also look at the moral development, which will take 3 hours. And these will also be on the stages. If you go to the learning management system, I've done a video on this. I've done a video on the moral development. So definitely I will not repeat in class. I'll expect you to go to the e-learning portal, then click on that video and listen to the teachings that are there. Then topic 3, we are going to look at emotional development. Emotional development will take 6 hours because it's a very wide subtopic. And it's also a very, very important topic when it comes to the teaching learning process. So that's why I'll put a lot of emphasis on the emotional competency skills and how these skills can influence learning both in a positive way and in a negative way. Then after that, we shall have a CAT, a continuous assessment test. Then we shall move to topic 4, which is on the theories of development. So under the theories, those that we shall discuss in our lessons, and there are those that we shall not discuss. But I'll expect you to do discussions in your groups, especially the topics that were slightly covered in PSY 211. I'll not repeat. I'll expect you to be in your groups, then do some discussions on that, especially on cognitive development and personality development. I know these are the areas that must have been taught in PSY 211, that's during your second year. Then after that, we shall look at language. Language development is very important. So we are going to discuss it, see how children develop language and how this language can influence the teaching learning process. I know you have done something on communication skills. Slightly again, you'll see that there'll be a slight repetition on that, but I want to emphasize mainly on how language influences the teaching learning process. I'm not going to look at how you can communicate, what is communication processes, no. I just want to look at the development, how a child develops language and how this language is important in the teaching learning process, and how best can a teacher use language to impart or to pass information to his or her learners. Then our last topic we are going to discuss is on exceptional development. Exceptional development is very, very important. As I said earlier, those of us who are doing special needs education, you understand what we mean by exceptionalities. So these are maybe children who had various factors that influenced their development, either in a negative way or in a positive way. But mainly, we are going to look at the negative aspect. How do you identify children who are exceptional in your class, and how best can you be able to handle them? So we are going to have cards, both quizzes and cards that will add, and assignments that will add up to 30 marks. Then your main exam will be 70%. So I want us to start straight away with the topic 1. I want to guide you through the topic 1, which is on the introduction. Our specific objectives for this topic, we have objectives for topic 1. We should be able to define various terms used in human growth and development. Then you should be able to explain the factors that affect growth and development, analyze why a teacher should have knowledge on human growth and development, and lastly, by the end of this particular topic, you should be able to state the principles of human growth and development. So I want to say something on the principles. I've already told you that I've put a link in the e-learning platform, on the e-learning platform, especially after topic 1 or within topic 1. And that link, if you click on it, you'll find information on the principles of human growth and development. So if you read those notes, I want you to look at them in a different way. Are you able, how do you apply these principles in the teaching learning process, especially during a lesson that you are teaching? So I want you to get those principles, know how to state them, but also more importantly, know how they can affect the teaching learning process, and how will you identify these effects in your class, and how best can you handle them in that particular same class. So what are the terms, commonly terms used in human growth and development are very few. We are going to define growth, we are going to define development and maturation. These are the most important terms that you are going to regularly meet them, use them, and so on. So when we are talking about growth, are you getting me? Chris, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So growth refers to an increase in size. It begins before birth and lasts until late childhood. So when you're talking about growth and development, we are referring to the aspect of a child growing from a smaller size to a big size, and even from, like, for example, when you talk of size, we are looking at height and how this human being grows from one size to another. This type of increase starts right from prenatal development. So that's why I'm saying it begins before birth and lasts until late childhood. So the changes we see in growth are observable. You can see them. You can describe. You can say this child is big in size, this child is small in size, this one is able, no, maybe this one has this particular height and so on. So the growth is normally observable. You can see it, you can measure, and so on. Then development refers to the increased change in sophistication or complexity. Changes that occur, the key word there is the change. Changes that occur during growth and development. So these changes can be described, or they are normally gradual. They are normally gradual, and you cannot maybe describe them and say maybe tomorrow the child will be able to move from this step to this step. But gradually, you'll see a child moving from the point of sleeping on the bed to sitting, then from sitting to crawling, from crawling to walking, walking to jumping, and so on. So these are the changes that occur. This is the keyword in that particular definition. Then we also have child development. Of course, child development is a complex and interrelated change. Already we are talking about the changes that are taking place in the child's development. So when this child is developing, there are certain interrelated changes that occur as they grow from the time of conception to about 12 years of age. Then we're also going to meet the term maturation. When do we say that a child has matured and is able to perform an activity? So what is maturation? So maturation refers to the readiness of a child to perform an activity. So the child is ready to perform an activity where certain activities become more possible, which were not possible before. So I've given an example of, for example, a child maturing to walk. So if a child has to mature to walk, he is able to stand and walk, it means that he must mature in his physical bones, muscles, and so on. So the bones must be strong, and the muscles must also be strong to allow the child to stand and start walking. So that activity of walking requires readiness. It requires that the child is ready to perform that particular activity. So that's why we are saying that maturation is the child's readiness to perform an activity which was not able to be performed earlier, but becomes possible to perform it when he matures. So most activities are dependent upon maturation. Most activities are dependent upon maturation. Most activities are dependent upon maturation. I'm sorry. It is therefore a mistake to try to hurry the child to perform an activity that is not able to perform. It's important that we respect maturation. We respect that the child becomes ready to perform an activity before we engage him in performing that particular task or activity. So this underlines the importance of respecting the individuality in teaching and awaiting the natural preparedness that the body makes for learning new skills. So training in particular skills is a process that awaits maturation. So this is a very important term that is going to help us teachers be able to respect the individual differences in our learners and also respect the readiness of the child. Put it in mind, that is. We have to put it in mind when we are preparing for a particular class. We are preparing for a particular task. Are our students able to perform this task? It's important always to ask ourselves that question, because most activities that as human beings perform depend on our readiness. Are we ready? I know you must have discussed this when you are looking at the law of readiness and exercise when you are covering a PSY 211. And I'm sure there's something you have learned about readiness. If a child is able to, is ready to perform an activity, he does it very well and even more faster because he is able to do it with a lot of ease and he even enjoys doing or performing that particular activity. So when considering maturation, it's important to recognize that two processes are normally at work: growing bigger and integration. Integration is where various parts of the body learn to work together harmoniously. So the two normally occur together. A child grows big and also a child is struggling to go through the integration process, whereby the parts of the body are learning to work together or learning to work harmoniously. What are the parts of the body? For example, we have the parts of the brain, we have the eyes, we have the ears, we have the legs, we have the hands, and so on. All these, as a child is growing, he learns to, and more importantly, the brain, the mental aspect, is what I want to emphasize on, especially in the teaching learning process. So when a child is growing big, it's assumed that also his mental development is also taking place, and therefore is able to perform certain tasks as per the age. You remember what you covered under the cognitive development of Jean Piaget. He gave us the various stages of cognitive development. And it's always believed that when a child reaches a particular stage, then he must be able to perform that particular activity of a child for that particular age. So we are looking at the physical growth, then we are also looking at the mental growth. And the two have to work together harmoniously. However, in certain cases, they may not do so. However, in certain cases, they may not do so. It is important for the teachers to recognize when one has not kept pace with the other. I repeat, it's important for the teacher to recognize when one has not kept pace with the other. The question is, how will you recognize this in your learners? How will you recognize this in your learners? For example, if a learner is growing bigger and mentally retarded, how will you identify such kind of a learner? For example, I've said some children grow physically without developing mentally. Some children grow physically without developing mentally. So any failure in the parallel progress of growth and development will affect maturation and present the teacher with the problems of how best to help the child whom they occur. So we are saying this because if a child, for example, grows bigger and does not grow mentally, so the two processes cannot match each other. And therefore the child cannot perform a task you give him as per the physical development. So that is what is now posing a challenge to us teachers. If I say maybe a child is 12 years, a child is 12 years and is able to perform a particular task, and I assume that this child is able to perform that task. For example, I can say the child is able to read fluently, speak good English, and so on. Then I give him the task of maybe discussing a particular aspect. Without knowing that this child might have grown physically, but mentally, the child is retarded. So if the child is not able to perform that activity, that's the time when you will realize there must be a problem with this particular child, and therefore you need a different method or a better method of teaching that can help that child learn like others. So what am I saying? It's important that us teachers understand about maturation. When we are preparing our classes, content, methods, teaching aids, let us always consider the maturation aspect. And we should also be able to identify those children whose maturation, whose two processes of maturation have not kept pace, so that we respect the individuality, we respect the individual differences, and even in our preparation, we can also consider that factor for our effectiveness in the teaching, learning process. So those are the three terms that I wanted us to understand. Now, what are the factors that affect human growth and development? Factors affecting growth and development. I want to highlight them very fast. Unless maybe I'll give you time to ask questions at the end of the hour. We have various factors that normally affect growth and development. Various factors that affect growth and development, which can also affect the child's future development and hence affect his or her learning process. So the first factor that affects human growth and development is hereditary. Of course, when I talk of hereditary, you quickly understand that this refers to transmission of inheritable characteristics. It is the transmission of inheritable characteristics or features from parents to offspring. This gives us our inborn strengths and limitations. All of us, including myself, we must have inherited something or certain characteristics from our parents. So sometimes when we inherit these characteristics, they can give us a strength or they can give us a limitation. They can make us to grow well, or they can make us develop certain challenges in our growth and development. So what are strengths? Strengths are things like color, skin, height. You know, you can also inherit intelligence. You can also inherit certain talents from the parents and so on, good health and so on. Limitations are things like diseases. You can inherit diseases. These are diseases like, for example, anemia, diabetes, Is cancer also inheritable? Cancer. Then we have HIV and AIDS and many other. Sometimes we inherit these characteristics from our parents, and they can influence our growth and development. Now, when this kind of process takes place, it happens during the first lives of a child. That is during conception, where fertilization takes place. So this is the time when the inheritable genes are carried over to the offspring. So I think you'll be able to read this in the notes. So the most important thing is for us to understand that sometimes we inherit certain characteristics from our parents, which can influence our growth and development. And these characteristics can either influence us positively or negatively. Positive influences are those strengths. They give you an advantage over others. But the limitations are those ones that are give you disadvantage over others or during your growth and development. Then number two, we have the environment. The environment is the surrounding of the child, the surrounding or the place where the child develops. So we have two types of environments. We have the prenatal environment and the external environment. So the environment influences development since it affects the cell development throughout life. E.g., the environment of the unborn child is the mother's womb. And if the mother's health is poor, for example, it will affect the child's growth and development. So let me just take you through the factors that affect growth and development in the prenatal environment. We have the malnutrition, where this is where the expectant mother lacks a balanced diet. Then it will affect the child's growth and development negatively. But if she eats the balanced diet, then definitely it will affect the child's growth and development in a positive way. So the types of foods that expectant mothers eat can improve the immune system of the child or can make the child to be weak, can help in the development of the bones or bone formation. It can help even in the mental development, and also it can affect the physical development. So balanced diet is very, very important, or nutrition is very, very important when it comes to growth and development. Then we have exposure to radiation. If an expectant mother exposes the fetus or the unborn child to radiation, it can also influence negatively the development of the child. This is because the X-rays are very, very dangerous to the unborn child. They are very, very dangerous to the unborn child and can lead or may affect bone development and lead to the defects during development. So if the X-rays, if a child is exposed to X-rays, they can interfere with the body cells of the developing child. And this can result to damage of the genetical material, leading to defects such as dislocated lips. It can also lead to malformed eyes. It can lead to diseases, heart diseases. And lastly, it can lead to mental retardation. So you'll discover that in every aspect of growth and development, the child grows physically and mentally. So the factors that can affect the child negatively can affect the physical development, can also affect the mental development. So at the end of the day, when this child comes to your class, definitely he will have these defects. He will have these defects, which can also pose a challenge to you as a teacher. So that's why it's important for you to have this particular information. Then we have diseases. Diseases I've already mentioned. There are some diseases that can be inherited. So if you are not getting me, kindly you let me know. Are you getting me?
Yes, we are getting it, sir.
Okay. So diseases sometimes can be inherited. Diseases can be acquired after birth. So it's important for us to know this. And these diseases can also lead to disorders, which can also interfere with the growth and development of a child. So a wide range of maternal diseases or disorders can affect prenatal development. These diseases including the rhesus factor incompatibility, high blood pressure, diabetes, sexually transmitted diseases such as gonorrhea, syphilis, chlamydia, genital herpes, and acquired immune deficiency syndrome. I've just mentioned a few of the diseases that can interfere or that can influence negatively the growth and development of a developing child. We have also the effects of maternal diseases are related to the stage of fetal development during which they are contracted. It also depends on when these diseases are contracted, and especially the length at which the mother stays with these diseases can also determine the level or the risk that has been, that can be caused on a developing child. So these diseases can lead to the following or can affect the child in the following ways. The child may develop heart diseases, especially if the mother suffers from diabetes, high blood pressure, and so on. They can interfere with heart diseases. Then number two, they can also lead to the child suffering from blindness and deafness, especially the sexually transmitted diseases like gonorrhea, syphilis, and chlamydia. They can lead to this kind of effect. Then it can also lead to mental retardation. It can also lead to mental retardation. This is because the moment an expectant mother goes through or suffers from diseases or disorders, sometimes it makes her also her health be affected. Especially the mental state of the mother will be affected, and definitely it's passed on to the fetus, and therefore the child can also suffer from mental retardation. Then we have legal and illegal drugs. Legal drugs are those drugs that are taken without prescription. A mother goes to the counter, chemist, and buys drugs, then takes without the medical advice. Then illegal drugs are those drugs that are not acceptable for a mother to take during expectancy. These are drugs like banking. These are drugs like cigarettes. We have alcohol. We have many drugs that, if taken by the expectant mother, can influence the development of the child. So the mother should avoid, expectant mothers should avoid taking drugs because they can lead or affect negatively the developing child. And the drugs can lead to the following effects. The drugs can lead to the following effects: stillbirth, bone malformation, facial deformations, heart defects. They can also lead to underweight, that's affecting the physical ability, physical development of the child, and can also lead to mental retardation. So you realize that if you are moving together with me, you realize that mental retardation is cutting across. It's cutting across. And this is what now poses the challenge to the teacher. And that's why actually you are having this knowledge on human growth and development. So that if a child was interfered, a child's growth and development was interfered with during prenatal level or prenatal stage, definitely when this child now grows and comes to school with these defects, it's important for you to be very keen as a teacher. If you are teaching and the children have certain challenges, it's important for you to go back to the history of the child. It's important for you to have the history of the child, get to know how this child grew, the environment under which this child has been developing, whether it's a peaceful environment, hostile environment. And of course, as we are talking about environment, we are talking about prenatal and external. So the moment you gather this information, it becomes very easy for you to handle these particular children. How will you handle them? Of course, the only task we have as teachers is to ensure that learning takes place and takes place effectively. So you'll be able to look for ways and means of choosing the best methods to help you impact knowledge on this particular child, especially once you have identified the weaknesses of the child. Of course, we are saying that the moment you do that, you respect what we call individuality. So when you are preparing, you have individual differences at the back of your mind, so that you use varied methods of teaching. You are varying methods because you are having children who are also varied in your class. So this information will help you know how to prepare for such. Then the age of the mother is another factor. Research has been done. This research was done and discovered that the age of the mother can pose a risk to the developing child, especially if the mother is underage or overage. Underage is maybe teenage mothers under 18. You find a child of 17 years, 16 years, 15 years, 14, giving birth. So of course, a child is giving birth to a child. This child has not yet developed fully. He or she is still in the process of developing, yet she's supposed to give birth to a child. So definitely the development of the child that she's carrying becomes a challenge and a risk to this particular expectant mother. And they can also lead to complications because these children have not yet grown to the level of being able to give birth. Their uterus has not yet grown, matured enough. Remember, we are talking about maturation. It has not matured enough to carry a baby. So this can lead to complications and might also influence the growth and development in a negative way. Then when a mother gives birth of 30 years or 35 years and above, 35, 36, up to 40, 50, if a mother gives birth at this particular age, it also has a higher risk of miscarriages, and also it might also have a higher risk of stillbirth due to the age. So these are things that people have done research and have come up with it, with the information. But we can also still do more research on the same, see whether the same factors work today. You know, the society keeps on changing, and people also keep on changing in their growth and development. Then emotional state of the mother can also be another factor that can influence growth and development. Emotional state, we are talking about stability, emotional stability, stress-free environment. If a mother, an experienced mother, is in a stressful environment, it can impact negatively on the developing child. That's according to the research that has been done by some psychologists. So it has been revealed that mothers, expectant mothers who go through emotional instability, they give birth to children Hello? Yes, I mean, so it gives, this can lead to a very, very restless. You'll meet these children in your class. They're anxious, withdrawn. These are the characteristics that we meet in class because of the earlier factors that might have influenced the child's development. So when we get such children in our classes, we see the best way of how we can be able to handle them so that we make them relax and be able to sit down and learn for 40 minutes. During birth, of course, these are characteristics that can influence growth and development: prolonged labor, breech birth, and cesarean birth. Of course, prolonged birth is where the mother takes longer period into labor, which can also lead to influence the child's development abnormally or negatively. Then at this particular time, the child, it's a risk on the child and the mother. The mother can lose her life, the child can lose her life. So it's a factor that can influence development. That's why it's normally advisable that mothers go to hospital for assistance during delivery. Then we have breech birth. This is where the child presents himself or herself with the legs or other parts of the body instead of the head. Because in normal circumstances during birth, the child must come with the head for the normal delivery to take place. So with this, of course, it will lead to what we call cesarean section, because the mother must be taken to theater so that the child is removed from the mother's womb, especially when the child has come in that position. So this can normally leads to inadequate supply of oxygen, which definitely might result to damage of the brain and hence mental retardation. So that's why if it's identified immediately, the child can be saved by being taken to theater. Surgical or surgery is normally a very, very delicate activity which requires a specialized doctor. So you don't go to anybody to do that. So it must be in hospital so that both the mother and the child can be secured. Then we have, of course, the rhesus factor. These are common factors that all of us understand that can also influence growth and development. This is where if the mother and the father or the husband and wife have to have rhesus factor incompatibility, meaning that one has negative or one is positive. This can also interfere or influence growth and development, especially if the two do not go to hospital for assistance. It's always believed that the first child will always survive, but the others must be supported through medication. And these anemia sometimes can lead to mental handicapcy, then can lead to death. So those are the factors that influence growth and development in the prenatal environment. After the child has been born outside the outside environment, that can affect the child's growth. Children, once a child has been born, with the caretakers, he interacts with the mother, the siblings, and even the teaching, the teachers, the friends, and so on. So all these can influence growth and development differently. Then we have the physical environment. Hello? Are we there?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have the physical factors. This is the physical environment. Environment, how the child is handled, this the security aspect comes in, the basic needs like food comes in, how the child is being fed, balanced diet. There's something I'm forgetting. There are certain factors that normally influence the child's growth and development, both prenatal and external. For example, the factor that influences both is nutrition or malnutrition. Malnutrition is both in the prenatal and both in the external. So if a child after birth is not given proper breastfeeding, proper balanced diet, then definitely it can also influence growth and development. So when we are looking at diseases, a child after being born with the diseases, inheritable diseases, for example, this child requires adequate treatment or adequate medical attention so that the child can be able to survive or can be able to grow without any challenges. So when we are talking about diseases, we are talking about inheritable diseases, we are talking about acquired diseases. So that are diseases like malaria, sometimes they affect the children after birth and they can influence negatively their growth and development. So all these explanations can come under the physical factors, but you can separate them, identify them differently, and see how they differently influence the growth and development of the child. Then we have socialization. I've already talked about socialization and so on. So those are some of the factors that influence growth and development. I'm talking about some because I've not discussed all of them, meaning that the remaining you can be able to discuss in your groups and see how you can, how they can interfere with the learner whom you are going to handle. There's a research that has been done on sex differences. This is something that I leave open for you to look at it. Is it as per what I've said here in the notes, or there's something that has occurred different? People believe that children with the different sexes, of course, when we talk of sex differences, we are talking about male and female. There's a research that was done earlier, and the findings indicate that boys are more vulnerable as compared to girls, especially during prenatal development. Thus, this is something we can also do research and find out. Is it still the same or things have changed? So as you read through this, you will be able to find that information. There is something on family separation. There's a research again that has been done on family separation. So people believe that children who have been brought up by single parents, they are influenced negatively in their growth and development. Either a child growing with a father or a child growing with a mother. And the same research has confirmed that children brought up by two parents, they acquire what we call parental love from the both parents, and they are more stable as compared to those ones that are brought up by single parents. Now, what are the principles of human growth and development? I think this one I've just listed them, but it's important for you to know that growth and development changes in behavior. I mean, growth and changes in behavior are orderly, and most parts occur in invariable sequence. Children develop differently. Different parts of the body develop differently. That's why we are using the word invariable. But remember, the key word here is that there is an orderliness in growth and development. So orderliness in the sense that you cannot force the child to do something he is not able, he has not yet matured to do at his stage of development. So every child is able to sit before it can stand. It stands before it can walk. It draws a circle before it draws a square. That's the second principle, which I think you understand. Then development takes place in a pattern and is continuous, but it's not always smooth and gradual. So we are talking about development taking place in a pattern and being continuous. We continue growing. Children continue growing. Human beings continue growing from one level to another. So you cannot say that this child has already grown and you are expected to do A, B, C, D. Growth continues. So when a child comes to school and you discover he has stagnated in one area of development, you have a role to play as a teacher to influence this other part that has not yet developed in this particular child, so that you can help him or her develop well. Then there are critical and sensitive periods in the development of certain body organs. Critical or sensitive periods. This normally is during the early years of life. If these stages are interfered with, then it can lead to permanent deficiencies or malfunctions. Especially, I've given you an example of the heart. When the heart is developing, for example, when the lungs are developing, when the eyes are developing, kidneys, the brain, all these are sensitive periods. When the parts of the body, let me just say all the parts of the body are developing, it's a very sensitive period of development. And therefore, we are saying the expectant mother should not expose herself to X-rays. An expectant mother should eat a balanced diet. An expectant mother should avoid risky places, should be stress-free, so that all these parts of the body can develop without any problem. But if the mother does not do that, we are saying that the developing child will develop what we call permanent deficiencies. I've been giving you effects like my malformed eyes, dislocations, and so on. All these, or even mental retardation. These are permanent deficiencies that are normally caused, especially when a mother is developing, when a child is developing these critical periods, critical parts of the body is interfered with. Then all the individual characteristics and abilities, as well as developmental changes, are products of maturation. I think I already explained that. What I did not explain is the experience. Why are we adding experience? It's a product of maturation and experience. Meaning that when a child, during maturation, it's important that the child is also allowed to explore the environment and gain some experience from the environment in order for the child to grow well. Then lastly, not lastly, but all human characteristics are the products of a series complex interactions between heredity and environment. The key word here is heredity and the environment. You have inherited, for example, intelligence as a strength from your parent. So what am I going to do as a teacher in my environment to ensure that you realize the potential of that talent, of that gift, of that strength, of that strength that you have inherited from your parent? I think it's understood if I put it that way. Sorry, then the last one is growth. The growth pattern is unique in each child. Some are fast, others are slow. The key word there is unique. All of us are unique. All the learners in our classes are unique. So we cannot compare and contrast. We cannot compare them. We cannot say that you are born the same day with so and so can be able to do this and that. So why not you? It's important for us teachers to understand that growth pattern is unique. And that's why in our preparations, we need always, and I'm using the word always, to consider individuality or to consider individual differences. So that in our preparations, in our methods, in our teaching aids, in our language, we consider the uniqueness of the students or learners in our classes. So now I will ask you to explain to me why you should have knowledge on these principles. Why is it important that you have knowledge on the principles? Or how can you apply these principles in your growth and, in your teaching learning process? So in your own groupings, look at the principles, click on that link that I've uploaded in the content, the e-learning system. Compare those principles that have been explained in that information, then bring them to this. Are they the same? If they are the same, it's okay. If they're not the same, can you add to what I have given you? So I've put there that link so that it gives supporting information. So I also want you in your own groups to discuss these implications, educational implications of human growth and development. It is not the first time you are meeting this. I want you in your groups again to discuss why a teacher should have knowledge on human growth and development. We are talking about selecting and adapting methods of teaching that are suitable for what? For effective teaching and learning for a given phase of development. Remember, the key and very important word here is for a given phase. Don't assume that those methods you are choosing in the PSY 211 are the same applicable here. Those ones who are cutting across. Choose the best methods. Select the best teaching aids. But this one, we are now considering the phase of development. If I'm teaching, for example, in JSS, which I know most of us are going to teach, what are the stages of these children, stages of development of these children? And what are the characteristics? What are they able to do best in that particular stage? Then how can I choose the methods that are suitable for this particular group of learners? So this knowledge helps you to do that. It helps you to deal with emotionally disturbed children. How do children develop emotional disturbance? Remember, we are talking about children born from an emotionally unstable mother. An emotionally stable mother can also pass this to the children. And we are saying that the characteristics of these children are what? We talked about restlessness, we talked about anxiety, we talked about withdrawal. So it's important for you to identify all these characteristics, then see how you can deal with these particular children. Then we are also saying that it will help us to identify and provide for individual differences among the learners. You know, what are the individual differences? I think I've already mentioned some. There are some that grow big and they don't grow mentally. There are some that grow mentally and they're very small. A very small child, a very young, but can reason like an adult. Those are the individual differences we are talking about. How would you handle them in your class? So with this knowledge, it will help you handle them and provide for their differences without any problem. Meet the needs of these pupils at the stages of development. What are the needs? The moment we talk about needs, what comes into your mind? The basic physiological needs that you learned in PSY 211. These are needs like the basic needs, which we have the physiological needs, the social needs, security, emotional, love, and so on. These are the needs that children need. Children need to be loved. Children need to be accepted. Children need to be supported. These are the needs. They also need to eat. Allow them to eat before you teach them. Don't teach during lunch break. When children are supposed to be going for lunch, you are busy covering a syllabus. You are doing nothing. You have to meet the needs of these children because at this stage, they need to eat, they need to grow. So with this knowledge, it will help you do that. It will also help you to understand and explain certain behaviors exhibited by pupils. How do you explain these behaviors? With the knowledge that I've given you on the factors that influence growth and development. When you find, for example, a child who is restless, a child who is anxious, a child who is mentally retarded, a child suffering from certain diseases, you can be able to understand and explain them and be able to handle them in a way that is acceptable so that the children feel accepted in the hands of the teacher. Then make provisions for development of whatever potentials pupils have. What are these potentials? We have said children inherit strengths. Children inherit talents. They inherit gifts, like for example, intelligence. They inherit maybe certain talents, like for example, games, and so on. So with this knowledge, you'll be able to help the learners realize the potential in whatever they have inherited from their parents through interacting in a comfortable, acceptable environment in class. Remember, we have looked at that principle of experience, maturation, and experience. We have also looked at the principle of children inheriting and then interacting with the environment so that they boost the inheritable characteristic that they have inherited from their parents. So this knowledge will help you do that effectively. Identify various stages of mental development and provide suitable learning experiences. What are these experiences? The activities you give in class, The teaching aids you use in class, the exercises you give the learners will also depend on their mental development. Don't give a task that is very complicated so that everybody gets a zero and you start saying, now, I'm the teacher. I'm the only one who can teach. I'm the only one who knows. So if your learners fail, it means you have also failed. If all of you get supplementaries, for example, it means I have failed. I have not given you what is required. So make sure that you provide for the mental development of a particular group that you are teaching, if it's Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, up to Form 4. So with this knowledge, I'm sure it will help you do it in a very better or in a very, very good manner. Then lastly, suggest or subject traditional beliefs about children's growth and development to critical evaluation. There are certain findings I've been giving you, findings on sex differences, findings on children being brought up by single mothers, single parents. It's good that we do some research and do evaluation because environments change, times change. Maybe the time when that research was done, that is what was the appropriate finding. We can also redo or have a certain way, a different way of subjecting these beliefs to research so that we find out, is it still applying to the current situation? If yes, then what can we do to help? So that's why these are the educational implications of human growth and development. So I think it's a very, very interesting course. And also it is going to prepare you while delivering the content that you have in your subject area. It will help you do it in a better and effective way. So that's the end of our first topic. I give you at least 2 to 3 minutes for any question. In case somebody has a question, you can ask. If there's no question, then I think we can stop there. We can stop there for today. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. For being patient and being able to attend the class up to the end. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Same to you,
too,
same to
Mom.
you. Same to
Thank
you.
Thank you.
We love you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.